The large and expansive world of One Piece is home to many strange animals and species. We got tiny people, we got giant people, we got fish people, we got dog people, we have balloon people, we got onion people, and whatever the hell Buggy is. But one of the most mysterious out of all of these different beings, the one that we just found out about in one of the most recent arcs of One Piece, Totland, are the Three-Eyed People. Who are the Three-Eyed People? We don't know. Where do they come from? We don't know. What do they even really look like? Beyond having 3 eyes? We don't know, because the only example we have that's part of their lineage is Pudding. And Pudding is in fact not a purebred third eye, because her mother is Big Mom. And I know, looking at Big Mom, probably the last thing that would come across your mind would be human, but that is in fact what she is. Human. Well, maybe a giant human would be the better subtype. It kind of falls in the same line of, like, Whitebeard. In fact, Big Mom is even larger than Whitebeard, so yeah, just think of that image, you know, Whitebeard and Big Mom standing next to each other, and Whitebeard's the one that's kinda nervous there. Right, so Big Mom's desire to form a utopian nation that has all the races of all the world getting along in harmony decides to go out and have massive amounts of sex with every race on the planet. My god, when you say it out loud like that, like, we all knew that's what it was. Oda said as much, that's what she did, but when you actually say it out loud and you actually stop to think about it, it's like Big Mom traveling the seas like, that's a long arm, get over here, that's a long leg, get on here, this is a snake neck, I want that. When you really think about the logistics of this situation, it really makes you just want to puke. In fact, actually, hold on, I'm gonna be right back here in a second. Oh god, my job is really hard sometimes. No one say being a YouTuber is easy, okay? I have to do this crap. Okay, so, in this sexual expedition, okay, she goes out, and at some point she stumbles upon a Third Eye clan somewhere in the world. Now, the Third Eye clan is kind of unique in the One Piece world, because it's a clan, number one, we haven't seen yet, but also, it doesn't seem like the rest of the world is even really aware of their existence. We didn't get the first mention of the Third Eye clan up until the Totland arc, and a good example of this is, remember at Sabaody when they were going to the human auction, Sanji was looking over that list, the auction list of all the different species that were offered there, and it listed, you know, humans and giants, and even like Tontatas and Snake Necks, two species that we have never even seen before. Longlegs were on there too. I don't believe we saw any Longlegs up till that point. Up till that point, we only saw giants and humans and long arms. Fishmen, of course. Mermaids were on there. But Third Eyes were conspicuously absent from that list. So I like to imagine that they're around, but they're like the same thing with minks. In fact, I don't think minks were on that list either. Minks live off on Zo, which is a traveling elephant island in the middle of the New World. And yeah, there are minks in other places. Totland is one of them, but their homeland is kind of in a secluded place where not a lot of people can get to. The Third Eye clan might be something similar. They might live on just one island in the New World, and that one island might be kind of hard to get to, and if you can get there, great, but otherwise maybe they have like sort of a closed door policy. Same thing with Wano, where there's not a lot of members of the Third Eye clan that are traveling outside of it. Now, the main reason why Big Mom wanted to have a child with one of the Third Eye clan members is because they have a very special ability, and that's the third eye just isn't used to visually see better, although it can be. The third eye has the same purpose in a lot of religions as it does in One Piece. If you look at a lot of religions, like Hinduism is the one that comes to mind with the chakra structure. The sixth chakra, or the Aja, is the eye that can, like, you know, see into the future, or it can see beyond just, like, the mortal plane. You know, it's more than just visual sight. It can, like, see more into, like, the world beyond, and there's a lot of other, like, let me just read this. This is a big book on symbology I have. I love whenever I get to bust this thing out. I got this thing cheap, too. This thing was like $10 at Barnes & Noble. I'm like, oh my god, this is great! The Buddha is always depicted with this third eye. So this is talking more about Buddhism than Hinduism, but going into it further. Here the eye signifies the higher self, the part of man's consciousness that is ego-free and can guide and direct him. Whereas the eyes are organs of outward vision, the eye of wisdom directs its view internally as the eye of Dharma, or the eye of the heart. See, okay, so obviously, maybe not taken directly literally, because Pudding is obviously a female in the One Piece world that is free of ego in any sort of way. right? But yeah, that's the basic way to look at it. It's beyond just visual sight. You can see more than that. So, they have the ability to hear the voices of all things, the same way that Goldie Roger could and Luffy could. Now, I like to think that when Goldie Roger and Luffy awaken this ability, it has something to do with the will of D. And it might not be an ability that they're normally, like, they're supposed to have. It might be something that's only limited to the Third Eye clan. Like, they're the only ones in the world that can naturally achieve this ability to hear the voices of all things. It's just that maybe something happened with the will of D, or the D clan way back during the Void Century, that they have this power now, and they're able to pass it down through the generations. Or something like that. Because it is kind of odd that, like, oh yeah, the Third Eye clan have this ability, but then you also have Luffy and Roger and other members of the D clan that have it too, even though they don't have a third eye, so there's something going on here, but I'm thinking it might be the Third Eye clan that originally had this power. Maybe they themselves were maybe part of the D clan, or they were allies with them, and they gave them this power to pass down through the generations in some method. I don't know. So, the way I view this, and the way it's been stated in the series, although it hasn't been really that elaborated upon, is that whenever a Third Eye clan member awakens their third eye, they are now able to, hear the voices of all things, or rather, whatever their eye is able to gaze upon, they'll be able to understand. That's the way I always took it, like, not, like, hearing the voices of all things, like, literally hearing, but if somebody that has a third eye were to happen to look at a poneglyph, or a road poneglyph, or any sort of ancient script or something, they would be able to read it. Just any sort of language they would be able to instantly understand, any written language they would be able to read, maybe the Sea Kings, if someone that has the power of the third eye and it was awakened was in the presence of a Sea King, they would be able to hear them the same way that Luffy could hear them and Roger could. That's the way I've always viewed it. Now, like I said, Pudding is not a pure breed, Third Eye clan member. She is a half-breed, so to speak, between Big Mom and whoever she got it on with. Don't know who that was. Maybe it was a member of the royalty of the tribe of the Third Eye clan, because she seemed to be focused a lot on royalty in some way, with, like, Loki involving Elbaf, and then Pound, who was the king of some random kingdom. So, I don't know how she even really found out where the Third Eye clan was, and that's something else. We haven't seen any Third Eye clan members amongst Totland, the residents of Totland. Now, Totland is a really big place, and there's a bunch of different islands, so there might have been some somewhere, but probably not, because Oda went out of his way to show, like, oh, there's minks in this society, long arms, long legs, snake necks, they're all represented either living in the, country somewhere, or a member of the Charlotte family. There's a few snake necks in the family, like Amande and Jascarpone and Mascarpone. There's long legs, like Tamago, that are not part of the family, but are part of the crew. There's minks that Pedro used to know, so yeah, they're definitely represented there. The ones that he doesn't show specifically are giants, because of the falling out with Loki and Lola, and in terms of Third Eye, the only one we have is Pudding, only representative in all of Totland, so there's probably a story there too. In fact, maybe the reason, like, Big Mom would maybe be really upset that she didn't have a third eye, but at least she has one. So she's like, maybe that's one of the reasons also she wanted to push Pudding to marry Sanji, so they could hurry up and have another child, and that child would also maybe be a third eye. Maybe that's another reason. Because whenever you bring up giants to Big Mom, she gets pissed. She's just like, don't bring them up, you freaking wish we had giants. I'd be queen of the pirates by now. But when it comes to, third eye, they're like, well, at least we have one of those. It's like a figurine collection. You're just like, well, I got 37 long legs, 42 long arms, 15 minks, one third eye, but no giants in my pop figurine collection. Fun fact, while doing research for this video, I actually found there is a figurine of Pudding, like a bobblehead pop figure kind of deal, and it looks adorable, don't it? I kind of want it now. Now, I don't know if this is just because of Pudding's own personality, but, Girl seems to be having some issues. The split personality thing, that she constantly switches and alternates before. I don't really know what it really is. You might want to consult a psychologist on that. Pudding definitely needs to see one. That might not be something that's indicative of the Third Eye clan, though. That might just be something for her, personally, because we saw her upbringing. We knew how Pudding was treated growing up, not just by, like, the other kids. It's kind of really messed up when you think about it. It's the same thing with Katakuri. Big Mom's whole thing is, let's create a world full of equality, And yet, all the children of Totland, even the members of the Charlotte family themselves, make fun of other members for looking weird. Like Katakuri, Katakuri had his, we don't actually know why he has that. It wasn't a birth defect. That was something that happened to him when he was really young, the mouth thing. We don't know what it was yet, but it happened when he was a really little kid, because even when we have flashbacks of him like 10 years old, he still has that thing. But people would make fun of him for that, and then Pudding. This is a family that's filled with fishmen, and you have Long Arms and Long Leg tribe members, and yet you're gonna make fun of the girl that just happens to have a third eye poking out of her head? So that's like, you can't. That's kind of sad in a way, but it's kind of Oda's message of saying, you really can't have a world like that. It would be great if you could. It would be like, I was in Disney a few weeks ago, and we went on the Small World ride, and I still have that damn song stuck in my head. It's a small, small, small world. But at the end of the ride, we're going through it, and you get, because it's going through all the different countries, and then we finally get to the end, and all of the members of all of the world are wearing white, and they're singing that freaking song, and I'm like, oh, why are they all wearing white? And one of my friends that was there was like, oh, that's to represent that, all of the nations of the world living in harmony and utopia. And that's kind of what, in a sense, Big Mom is trying to make, but it fails. Not just because other kids are, like, making fun of others, not just, like, some reason like that. I mean, kids are kind of assholes, but even Big Mom herself did it to her own child. She was... Okay, that came out really wrong, the way I said that. Big Mom did not do it with her own child, but the way she said it, she was, like, treating Pudding like, oh, wow, Pudding, yeah, I mean, I know you have the third eye, and it's useful for me to read the poneglyphs, but damn, girl, you look creepy. Kind of the same thing there, so she didn't have a utopia, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not a common trait of the Three-Eyed Clan, that they all have like a split personality. That's just something limited to her, but yeah, it made for an interesting personality quirk there. I thought that was gonna go somewhere, personally. I thought it was gonna lead to like Pudding's betrayal, but no, it just kind of like her, her quirky little thing. That's what she does. I honestly still feel bad for Sanji. I mean, don't get me wrong, Sanji sort of dodged a bullet there with Pudding, but also the fact, well, literally and metaphorically, but also for the fact that, he managed to kiss a cute girl for once, and then completely got it removed from his memory. So I hope that comes back at some point in the story. In fact, I don't think Pudding and Katakuri, I don't think they're out of the story just yet, because they were, expanded upon a lot in that arc. So I think they might come back someday, and who knows, Pudding might give the memory back to Sanji, and he'll be like, I kissed a hot girl! Yes! So, we'll see. We'll see where that goes later in the future. But as for the future of the Third Eye Clan, well, we know they exist, and we know Oda is great at foreshadowing and teasing us with this kind of stuff, so I definitely, I have high hopes that the Third Eye Clan will be making an appearance later on in the series. Who knows, maybe even Tien will make a crossover appearance from the Dragon Ball universe. But yeah, I really want to know where they live. I'm certain it's somewhere on the Grand Line in the New World. Might be someplace similar to Zou or Wano, an isolated land that's kind of hard to get to under normal means. But even if we don't find out their homeland, maybe we could find another Third Eye Clan member just somewhere, just hanging out in the world. That managed to leave their home island, and it can at least expand upon this. What it means. Considering the fact that Oda went out of his way to not only introduce a new species, but also gave them the special ability to hear the voices of all things and read the road poneglyphs and everything, you would think that they would be vaunted. They would definitely be desired by not only Big Mom, but also Blackbeard and also Kaido. Let's think about this, for instance. Kaido has a road poneglyph, sure, but how's he gonna read it? He can't. I mean, unless he has somebody on his crew that can already hear the voices of all things, or somebody that's a scholar, like Robin, who was, the Ohara was bombed out of existence by the world government, so there's not a lot of people really out there that can decipher these things. I mean, maybe that's something else that could lead to, maybe there's another survivor of Ohara. Maybe Robin's father. Ooh, because we never found out who he was. There's a lot of theories regarding that about, there's theories like, oh, Goldie Roger was Robin's dad. I'm like, well, I mean, if you actually think about it, it's not impossible. The dates, like, Roger was alive by the time Robin was born, and Olvia has silver hair, and Roger had black hair, and Robin has black hair, so, I mean, I guess that technically that would make Robin and Ace half-brother, half-sister. That's a little strange. I don't think Roger is Robin's father, but I think that it should be expanded upon at some point, you know. Like, here's the thing with the Straw Hats, okay? When it comes to a Straw Hat that has, like, a mother revealed or a father revealed, I want to find out what happened to the other parent. You know, so in the case with Luffy, it's already stated who Luffy's dad is. Like, alright, you're already going that far with it. I want to know who's Luffy's mom is now. You know what I mean? Zoro, for instance. We don't know either of Zoro's parents. They've never really been touched upon. It's never been established. So I'm okay if Oda just never goes there. If we just never find out who Zoro's parents are, that's fine, because it's never really been addressed too much. You know, Sanji, we found out Sanji's father and mother in the last arc. Nami, not really so much, because Nami had a stepmother who was Belmere. We never really found out anything about Nami's birth parents, so that's okay. We don't know that. Frankie's parents were mentioned to both be pirates from the South Blue, I believe. So, they've been mentioned, but I don't think we're really going to find out about them. Brooke, once again, not so much. But when it comes to Robin, they went out of their way to specify who Robin's mom was, so I'm interested on who the father is there. But my point is, yeah, unless you have a scholar of Ohara, or I guess a scholar from somewhere else in the world that happens to know how to read poneglyphs, which is probably very limited considering how restrictive the government here is, or do you have a Third Eye Clan member, you can't read the poneglyphs. So I think that's what Oda did there. I think that's what he was doing. Like, let's introduce the Third Eye Clan, so whenever we get to, like Kaido might already have one. You know, like, we might get to Kaido's castle, wherever he's keeping his road poneglyph, and there might be a Third Eye Clan member there that he employed in his task to, like, oh, your job is to read the road poneglyphs. That might have already been the case, just to give Oda an explanation, because otherwise Oda might have been sitting there like, oh crap, they don't have a way to read these things. Shit. Okay, I'm gonna invent a race of people that is very small, but they have the ability to hear the voices of all things. Okay, let's do that. I'll call them the Third Eye Clan. So, there you go. Even though technically, if they're gonna have the ability to hear the voices of all things, you should have made them a Third Ear Clan. But that would have been probably a little weird to have a third ear sticking out of your forehead. You know what I mean? Where would you want a third ear? If you had a third ear, where would you put it? You know, would you put it, like, because you gotta be asymmetrical if you're gonna put it here or here. Putting it here is just, I don't know, I guess put it in the back of your neck so you can hear shit coming from behind you, I guess, I don't know. But yeah, so the Third Eye Clan, very interesting concept. I'm glad Oda introduced them, kind of a world-building aspect. We all know I'm in love with that. You know, adding to just the whole, like, strange place that One Piece is, and I'm sure there's maybe even more races in the world that we don't know about yet. You know, like, beyond, like, it took us forever to learn about, like, what the Minks really were. Remember when Beppo first showed up? Like, what did you think Beppo was when he first showed up? Did you just think, like, oh, it's a talking, karate-chopping polar bear? Alright, it's One Piece. Like, I didn't even stop to consider, like, oh, Beppo is part of a whole new species that is going to be expanded upon later. I didn't even stop to think about that. I just kind of rolled with it, because it's anime, it's manga, you know? Like, remember, going back to Dragon Ball Z again, there's, like, furries that are just wandering around cities in Dragon Ball, and it's just, like, yeah. It's just a thing, like, no one mentions it. So I was like, oh, polar bear. But then no, Oda goes the extra step, and he's like, no, it's actually a species called minks. Here they are. They live on Zou. Here's a whole backstory for their civilization. Like, that's awesome. But, yeah, what do you guys think about the Third Eye Clan below? What do you think about their special ability? What do you think, like, their homeland is like or anything? Do you think Kaido already has one in his employ? What about Blackbeard? Blackbeard's trying to get the road poneglyphs as well, and, you know, I don't think he has anybody on his crew that could really read it. Just because you're a member of the D Clan doesn't necessarily mean you have the voice of all things. Okay, because Law, he's a member of the D as well, and I think, I think with Law, I'm not sure on this. I'll have to go back and double check, but I'm thinking Law might have had a scene or two where he could maybe hear the voices of all things, except it wasn't the scene with Zunisha. Because with Zunisha, Luffy could definitely hear it, because Zunisha was yelling at the top of its lungs, and Momonosuke could hear it, which, okay, really side note, just quick on this, I don't think Momonosuke has the exact same ability as Luffy does. I think that's more of just a connection between Zunisha and the Kozuki clan directly. And I think just because Luffy had the ability to hear the voices of all things, he could overhear that conversation, but it's not the same thing. I also don't think that Momonosuke is a member, is like Uranos. People have said that, like, maybe Momonosuke is the ancient weapon Uranos, and just like Shirahoshi can control the Sea Kings, Momonosuke can control Zunisha. I'm like, yeah, but how is that an ancient weapon? Shirahoshi can literally command an entire army of Sea Kings all over the world if she really wanted to. Momonosuke could control a 1,000-year-old elephant that's very slow-moving. Like, I mean, Zunisha's powerful, it's a giant elephant, I just don't think it's a really effectual ancient weapon when Jack was almost able to cripple the thing. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't think it's the same thing, but during that scene, Luffy was, like, holding his ears, like, it's so loud, and I think Law had a scene in the manga where there was, like, a little exclamation point, like, And some people thought, like, oh, that's the same thing. He can hear it too because he's a D. But if it was that loud that Luffy was, like, barely able to hear it, I think Law would have also been like, ah, man, that's loud. I think it was Law just being like, what's going on, Luffy? Something's going on here. It's not established that every single member of the D clan has that ability, okay? So we know Roger had it. We know Luffy has it. Momonosuke probably has something similar, and the Third Eye clan all have it. But yeah. Oh, and little thing to lead out on, Pudding never really awakened that power. It might have been because she never truly awakened her third eye, or it might have been because she wasn't a purebred third eye. But Pudding herself never actually had it, so Big Mom never really learned what was on the road poneglyph. That's also an important thing to lead out on. But anyway, thanks for watching the video, everybody. Comment, like, all that, blah, blah, blah. You know what to do. Tekking, signing out. Third Eye. This was a really weird video because I had to part my hair like this. This is how my dad used to, like, part his hair for a long time. He doesn't really do it anymore, but he used to part his hair like this, and I always thought it was really dorky. So, back to it.